Hey everyone, we're back to discuss those data mined audio commentary files found in Street Fighter 6 after the closed beta, and they of course reveal the whole roster and give us some hints on their move lists and a lot of information that me and Mir are going to discuss with you guys. Of course, if you guys are late to this and you haven't seen our previous videos, we've already discussed JP and Manon, so make sure you check those out on our channel. There's a lot to talk about. That's why we're going one character at a time here. So today we're going to discuss Marisa, and I'm very excited to talk about this character, Mir, because this is a character that I've had my eye on for a while now, and it's a possible main for me, so I'm excited to get started.
Well, hopefully in this video there's not going to be anything to mispronounce, because there's no ancient Roman that gonna show up and tell us that we pronounce Latin wrong. So
yeah. So let's talk about the character herself first, Mir. I'm gonna go back to the leaks before these characters were even revealed, and the description for Marisa at first was an Italian wrestler woman with red hair and an MMA legionnaire look that wears black and gold. Looking at the picture now and then looking how she looks in the roster reveal, looks very similar. This looks pretty accurate. On top of that, Mir, in the commentary audio files, it says, this Italian brawler may be known for her bold nature and explosive fighting style, but she also has a gift for crafting beautiful accessories.
This Italian brawler may be known for her bold nature and explosive fighting style, but she's also got a gift for crafting beautiful accessories.
So this pretty much confirms she is indeed Italian, just like you, Mir, by the way. Just like you.
Yeah, I don't quite look like Marisa. I wonder why that is.
Because you gotta hit the gym, man. And
yeah,
she also has an Italian flag by the character as well, Mir. There's just more evidence that she is Italian. But the big thing, like you just mentioned at the beginning, Mir, is that although she is Italian, her moves are actually all written in Latin.
Again, it's the inspiration of the kind of like ancient Roman legionary style, and that's why some of the names have Latin names, but there's some that have English names as well. So unlike other characters that have their move names in a single language, she has both Latin and English.
The forbidden language.
The dead language.
Too bad it wasn't in Italian, though, because then you could really help us here. But I mean, for the most part,
I probably would complain about how they don't make a lot of sense or whatever. It reminds me of Rose from the other Street Fighter games.
Oh yeah, you got beef?
Yeah, they're like not necessarily sensical. You know, it's just an Italian word next to a soul, basically, for the Rose. So yeah, at least they didn't repeat that.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing the perspective of different cultures and hearing different languages and how, you know, they feel like when they see a character being made from Capcom, because, you know, Capcom is always gonna kind of go a little over the top with all these different characters.
yeah, for sure. I mean, they really want to nail that cultural identity, right? Whatever it may be. So they put it everywhere in their moves and the way they act, the way they dress, all of that, you know.
Right. So let's talk about Marisa aesthetically, how she looks. The first obvious thing, Mir, is that she's huge. She's really big. And
it's pretty chunky.
Yeah.
Snoo.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about just like muscular. Like she's tall, man. Like she is huge. And you know, look at the pictures. You know, it doesn't look like she's as big as Zangief, especially in height.
No, I don't think so. Zangief is, you know, like way bigger than everyone else.
Yeah, he's a giant, and you know, muscle power. But
of course,
I think she's easily like looks like the biggest female character. And
for sure.
And, you know, it's hard to look at the drawings and be like, oh, this character's taller than that. Then, you know, you can't really go off of that. Right? Yeah. The other thing, too, Mir, is that her attire, like everything looks like this kind of ancient Rome kind of style. Like there is MMA clothing, but there's like a Roman kind of twist to it, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And it's not just the attire either, because you can see that there's some decorations on her gear that, you know, look like military or Roman inspired, and the hair as well is shaped in an interesting way.
This also kind of gives us a hint on her fighting style, because, you know, this doesn't look like a character that's gonna do like dance moves on you, you know, like or zone you from afar. Well, I'm just saying that she's huge and has huge muscles, tall. Doesn't look like a zoner. I mean, there's Sagat, I guess. Sagat's a zoner. He's huge and tall. But in the commentary audio files, it says that she has an explosive fighting style. And, that's gonna leave a crater.
Known for her bold nature and explosive fighting style. Oh, that's gonna leave a crater!
So, like, things are getting smashed around, and there's also add up that grip, muscle, and speed, and we're talking loads of damage.
Add up that grip, muscle, and speed, and we're talking a heap of damage!
I think there's hints that this is maybe not necessarily a grappler character, but at least a brawler, someone with strong normals and
Absolutely.
conversions and, just a bully with big damage.
Yeah, she's gonna hit you really hard. So let's break down like all the kind of clothing that she's wearing, right? Everything that we see with her. First, we got that kind of Roman skirt thing. You know what that is, Mir?
Right, so that's inspired by the military belt that legionaries used to wear, which is called a cingulum.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of like use that as a traditional Roman garb, I guess, in fantasy and whatnot. So like the skirt doesn't quite look like that, but you can tell that it's inspired.
Okay. Thanks for the history lesson, by the way.
You're welcome. More to come.
Yeah, more to come. Exactly. Mir's in his happy place right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Her hair. The funny part is Mir, like, for the longest time, we didn't actually know if it was her hair or she actually was just wearing a red helmet. It's kind of weird because we kind of see a picture of her at the beginning of the gameplay trailer, the first gameplay reveal trailer, but now it's pretty certain it's actually her hair shaped like a helmet, right?
Yeah, when we first saw her in the gameplay trailer, I thought it was Ralph from KOF. I was like, that's a weird looking Ralph.
I didn't get that at
but
all.
no, I mean, even the original leak, right, mentioned the fact that she had red hair. So once you think about it, and it's not the first time that they shaped a hair like a helmet, because there's an entire running joke in Street Fighter V about Menat's hair looking like a a helmet.
I guess so. Hey. That's true. Anything you want to talk about, like on the shape of the helmet? Does that have any relevance? Any history lesson there?
I mean, I'd assume that it's based on legionary helmets, where they have these cheek pieces that protect the side of the head, which is like the hair covering her cheeks and such. Obviously, like kind of like a low brim cover the forehead as well, and it's difficult to see the back, right? But usually they have this flared bit in the back to protect the neck. So it's kind of like seeing, like it's inspired by those kind of helmets, at least open faced, right? But it's not 1-to-1. That would look even more ridiculous than it probably already does now.
You would need a lot of hard gel to get your hair to look like that. I mean,
oh yeah,
dude.
At that point, you might as well wear a helmet and paint it red, like we were saying.
Yeah, like I mean, Capcom characters always have the craziest hair that are like gravity defying.
I mean, have you looked at Rose's?
Yeah, Rose's hair. Ibuki's another rough one. And Nash's hair, like they're crazy, right? So I'm not surprised with Marisa having crazy hair like that, and it makes the character stand out more anyways. So I also noticed, Mir, when you look, there's like a lot of imagery that it kind of looks like a sword tip on her gloves and on her necklace. I don't know if it's a sword tip or maybe it could be a shield. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely on her gauntlets, it does seem like a stylized sword tip.
Okay.
It's not necessarily like, a Roman sword tip, but, that doesn't have to be historically accurate and not that kind of guy.
Of course.
And then she has a necklace that looks like an even more like enlarged version of this sword tip, almost like a medieval shield shape. Which would be, a little bit anachronistic, especially because it's like ancient Roman. So maybe it's still, the sword tip, just a little bit bigger.
Her move list, like, she has a move called, like, Gladius. So, there could be a reference to that. But like you said, it's not exactly like a Roman sword, you would say.
And Gladius means sword in Latin. Wow.
Thanks, Mir. I'm learning Latin in this video. It's awesome.
Today, we're all learning.
Doing a better job than my French, that's for sure. Okay, another thing in the commentary track, it says that she has a gift for crafting beautiful accessories. And as you can see, we can assume that the necklace that she's wearing that we just talked about was probably made by Marisa, made by herself. And she likes to show it off, right? And we also notice, Mir, that she's got nail polish on. If you look really carefully, she's got nail polish, red nail polish, and red lipstick. So it kind of gives us info that she does like to show off. She likes to look good, you know what I mean?
And long eyelashes, too. We see that in the World Tour trailer.
Yeah, so it kind of gives us a hint kind of her personality. She likes to show off. Maybe she's really proud of, like, this style that she's trying to give off while she's, like, pummeling her opponents, I'm interested to know if she's, like, part of, like, an antagonist or something, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Usually these characters that tend to be side characters tend to be very neutral. Like, maybe they have a personality that is a little bit more, aggressive, or you would identify with a bad guy, but
I don't know,
they tend to just not matter in the story.
We're
overall
missing
usually.
like villain characters without the Shadow Lu, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm just kind of seeing who could be a villain in this game. So I was looking at
Right.
Marisa.
But I guess it reminds me a little bit of Jury, how she's kind of like the anti-hero
Yeah.
supporting character, because she's
Yeah.
not really a main character, but she does exist, and she's not, necessarily good, right? But she's
Yeah.
not necessarily evil either. She's kind of like on her own. So
Mhm.
Marisa could be the same thing. She's doing her thing, doing MMA, and then, I don't know, you encounter her in the streets, and then she pummels you and then runs off with your money. I'm not sure.
All right, before we start talking about her move list, let's just let you guys listen to all the tracks at once, and then we're going to start breaking them down.
It's Marisa's birthday today. This Italian brawler may be known for her bold nature and explosive fighting style, but she's also got a gift for crafting beautiful accessories. Ow! They had them all figured out! Lifts them with the knee and brings them down! Going for the legs with the Procella! Boots them! Pushing through with the Gladius! Puts the super armor to good use! Devotes all that meter to the goddess of the hunt! They're about to get a big knockout kiss! Oh! Sees them coming and shrugs it off with the super armor. Those boots are made in Italy! Oh, that's gonna leave a crater! Marisa delivering the goddess of the hunt. Heavy damage incoming! Loads up the javelin and blasts them with the good stuff! Goes for the ground and pound! Goes low with Procella and sweeps them! Add up that grip, muscle, and speed, and we're talking a heap of damage! Goes for the Tornatrus to mix them with the overhead. The Gladius blows them away. Super armor wasn't enough! Super armor! Cold and calculated! Flies in with the fist to keep the pressure on. Phalanx from above! Hold up, they broke through the super armor. Must have seen it coming. Oh, rails them with the Gladius! Comes for them with the Phalanx! Javelin of Marisa! Digs in it. Javelin of Marisa! Applies the super armor and pries them open. Doesn't even flinch before she slugs them. The Gladius pries them open. Folded up like a cheap suit. Procella! Sick super armor use. Damn, scores an important armor break. Spends 2 for the meteorite and absolutely destroys them. Enfold for the throw. That's what they came for. It's the goddess of the hunt. I've heard of tough love, but not like this. Not like this! Steps up! The goddess of the hunt has arrived! Say goodbye to that life gauge! Ugh! Quadriga! Flipping them inside and out! Marisa gonna give you the jav! In with the phalanx! And fold! Nasty blow to the back of the head. Procella catches them sleeping! Opts for the Tornatrus! Starting trouble with the Tornatrus overhead, catapults them up and brings them crashing back down.
Let's talk about her gameplay now, Mir. There's a lot to talk about here with her move list. So, like we were talking about before, looking at all these moves and how she looks and the commentary tracks, it sounds definitely like Marisa is going to be our brawler type character. So, brawler type characters, guys, are characters like, Birdie, Abigail. A lot of people confuse these characters with grapplers because they do indeed have command grabs, but that's not their general game plan, Mir. It's not their win condition. It's brawler characters are mostly characters that bully you with really hard hitting long range normals, and they just maul you in neutral and then basically bully you. Even Honda could be a brawler, for example. So,
right. The characters that are difficult to approach, and like you said, they tend to have maybe not necessarily strong neutral, but like difficult to deal with neutral. Maybe it's a better way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike a grappler, I would argue that a grappler is someone that relies on the command throw to get the damage. A brawler doesn't.
Right.
That's not their main way. But they can still open you up with that. Like, it's part of the reason why they're scary up close.
Yes.
But at the same time, they can be scary from a range.
So with that being said, Mir, every character in this game has some kind of unique thing about them. With the character we just talked about, Manon, she has this metal level that she levels up her grabs. And Marisa is no different. The big deal about Marisa is that she has super armor. And man, this was something that was definitely missing from the game that we noticed. We're like, man, there's like no armor moves in Street Fighter 6 except for like Luke's tackle, right? So it looks like Marisa is going to be the big armor character in this game. And there's some quotes, puts the super armor to good use and sick super armor use.
Puts the super armor to good use. Sick super armor use.
Right. And I guess I think that's what we're mentioning here is that it doesn't seem that in any of the commentary tracks that we hear, there's a specific reference to one move in particular having armor. So it seems like it could be something that she has on a lot of different moves, or something that she can use like a buff, like a lot of characters have a stock sort of system,
right,
where they can get armor. and use it.
So either she'll just straight up have super armor on specific moves, maybe the specific strength, right? Or like OD version. Or like you said, because, you know, more than half the cast has a stock system in this game, maybe it'll be just like Yuri in V-Skill 1, you know, she'll be like, I'll savor this, and then she'll get the armor stock, and then the next move that can use the armor will use the stock, and it'll have armor applied to it. So the stock system would sound scary, Mir, because that means it might amplify her supers too, for example, you know?
Right, and it seems that some of these supers, or at least some moves, have the ability to use the super armor to get extra effects, which is not just armor, or at least it seems like it wouldn't be.
Right.
'Cause there's mention of, for example, a move called the Javelin of Marisa, which says that applies the super armor and pries them open.
Javelin of Marisa applies the super armor and pries them open.
What does that mean? How do you apply super armor to pry someone open?
I'm scared, Mir. I'm scared.
Maybe one theory that I had was that maybe you can consume the super armor to get a guard crush effect.
Ooh. Oh, now I'm even more scared. Why did you say that? What?
Yeah, this character doesn't seem like you want to block somehow. Like you just don't want it to be close.
That is a brawler, right? That's the brawler character archetype. So,
yeah.
You know, it says super armor, not just armor. Is it better than, you know, regular armor, right? Or is it just the commentary being hype? Like, is this going to be like the drive impact killer? You know, like it's just going to smash through everything here? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know, because it depends on the way they define armor in the game, right? Is there just generic armor, or is this just the way the Capcom has to describe that kind of effect where you know, armor through attacks, right? Like maybe all armor is called super armor. As you were about to mention, there's some hints that, you know, like it's not infinite hits, for example.
Right. So there's some quotes that says, super armor wasn't enough. And hold up, they broke through the super armor, must have seen it coming. And damn, it scores an important armor break.
Super armor wasn't enough. Hold up, they broke through the super armor. Must have seen it coming. Damn, scores an important armor break.
This easily implies that the armor has a limited amount of hits of armor. Like the drive impact only has 2 hits of armor, for example.
Right. It's a possibility that, you know, armor is 1 hit and super armor is 2 hits, for example. And then, I don't know, there's hyper armor, which is 3 hits. Like maybe that's the way you're categorizing the amount of hits that it absorbs. And we're going to see that in the final game.
Yeah.
But so far, it seems that, you know, there's still counterplay. And if we look at the drive impact example, we know you cannot armor through supers. So there are ways around this regardless of number of hits, which is nice.
Yeah.
And maybe there's going to be other universal ways of dealing with it, like throws and whatnot.
I don't think the armor is, like the stocks, if she does have stocks, is going to stack. Like, we never hear the commentary tracks go, armor level 2, armor level 3, you know, things like that. Max armor, super armor level. We never hear that. So if it is a stock, it's going to be 1. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be something like Q's taunt. You know, Q's taunt where he, like, gets reduced damage. Like, it definitely seems like she's blowing through attacks with the armor, you know?
Yeah, the only other way of looking at this, if it is multiple stocks, is that it influences the amount of hits that she can armor through. So, like, with stock, it's 1 hit. With 2 stocks, it's 2 hits. Right. But it's still consumed by the special.
You think she'll take gray damage from it?
I think so, yeah. I think it's fair to assume that all armor attacks are going to be that way, and you can die from it just like in the final version of Street Fighter 5. And I mean, in Street Fighter 6 right now, right? If you drive impact through something at low health, you're going to die.
There's got to be some way to balance it because, you know, every character having a unique thing. Armor in particular, Mir, is very strong. We know this from Street Fighter 5. They had a lot of armor moves that start up, you know, on the 3rd frame, and even that was very strong. So, you know, Capcom does have to be a little careful when it comes to armor, especially since drive impact.
Sacred neutral.
It's nooch, but drive impact only hits once. It's 1 hit, you know. So they got to be careful how they balance this, you know, without saying. Now,
especially if you can give it 2 moves that maybe have feints and whatnot. I mean, we're gonna go over that later, but one of the things with the drive impact is that you're kind of like forced to do the drive impact once you start, right? There's no way out, which is what makes it so risky. So for Marisa, it's gonna have to be something similar. If you can just throw out safe moves that have armor, I feel like that would be maybe not necessarily a problem, but be annoying to deal with. You know, they would need to have a lot of recovery or be reactable so that you can use, you know, something in response, maybe parry them or neutral jump and things like that.
We learned a lot from Abigail, man. Abigail got 2 emergency patches for Street Fighter 5. 2.
Yeah.
Like
He
that's a
did.
big deal, guys. I mean, if it's really broken mirror, I'm just gonna main her anyway, so it's all good. You know what I mean?
Nice option select.
Hey man, you're Italian. You should be maining her. Anyways.
Well, we'll see. If she's a charge character, I'm not very good with motions.
She might be. Remind me about that, the charge character thing too, once we get to the other moves, because I forgot to write that down. Okay, so this is going to get a little confusing too, Mir, because there's some other quotes that kind of throw us off on our theories. So one quote is, super armor, cold and calculated. That quote kind of throws me off because it kind of sounds like the armor is a parry, but I might be thinking too much in that. And then there's one more quote, Mira says, oh, seen him coming, then shrugs it off with super armor.
Super armor, cold and calculated. Oh! Sees him coming and shrugs it off with the super armor. Doesn't even flinch before she slugs him.
Sees him coming, like... To me, now I'm thinking about Zangief V-Skill 1, the muscle flex.
Right, it's a possibility because actually recently I've been looking a little bit into Grand Blue versus... don't judge me. Anyway, there's a character in that game, it's called Vasaraga. He has basically a very similar ability to do this, right? His unique ability. He charges up and gets one stock of armor that he can use on moves, kind of like what we're describing here.
Yeah.
And the stocking up also has armor.
Okay.
So maybe that's the way it works here, right? But,
Ooh. That's an interesting
maybe
theory.
unsafe for very long.
I didn't think about that one. I'll be honest. I don't want it to be like V-Skill 1 at all, like Zangief. I don't like it. I don't like what they did with Zangief. How they I don't want Marisa to constantly have to move forward and guess flex and hope the opponent does something, and then she goes into SPD. It does work well with like a grappler like Zangief, but for a brawler, I don't want to keep having the flex. I don't like that idea. I think
well, especially when characters like brawlers, like we were mentioned, tend to have decent neutral, right? Like with Zangief, it makes sense because you are incentivized to keep him out because he's scary up close. So he has this thing where you just flexes in your face, and then if he guesses right, he can kill you for it. But with a brawler, I feel like it'd be either oppressive or just like annoying to deal with.
Yeah, so let's hope it's like that. I do like your theory though with the counter. That's interesting. Okay, let's talk about Marisa's special moves now that we got the super armor out of the way. But keep the super armor in mind, guys, because like I said, all these moves potentially can have super armor with our theories. So we're here. The first track lifts them with the knee and brings them down, and catapults them up and brings them crashing back down.
Lifts them with the knee and brings them down. Catapults them up and brings them crashing back down.
What does this sound like to you, Mir, move-wise?
Well, definitely it seems like some from the ground to the air, then to the ground again sort of thing. And at first I thought Alex's knee smash. Right?
Oh, especially when he goes up with the knee and then he grabs him in the air and smashes him down. Right,
exactly. Especially because the EX version of Street Fighter V eventually could hit on the ground. Right,
so that's true.
You go ground to air to ground. So maybe that's something like that. It could be a throw instead of a hit throw like the knee is. But it definitely seems like something that that does this kind of motion, I guess.
Well, if she has like a move that's like that where she jumps up and grabs you, that'd be interesting because a lot of times brawlers, they usually don't have kind of uppercut moves. Usually they have this really good normal as an anti-air,
Yeah.
So giving a brawler, it's kind of like when they gave Chun-Li her, her anti-air, DP anti-air, but it's a down-down. But just giving a character like Chun-Li, that sounds really strong. And it would be the same for a brawler too. So I don't know how I feel about this.
I mean, it might not be invulnerable, right? It could be something that is used for combos, for example. It could be something that is, wins because of just how fast and good the hitbox is. It's something that you could use maybe to defeat neutral jumps. Right? Someone's neutral jumping over your big normal, and then you use this to snipe them out of the air.
Yeah. Another thing, this is going to sound kind of wild, but I should bring this up, is that we've noticed with the beta that every character has a reversal, all 8. And I have a suspicion that maybe Capcom wants every character to have an invincible reversal this time around, at least the OD version. So if that is the case, then I would imagine this move would be Marisa's reversal. It just sounds like it to me, but I don't know for sure. It's just
maybe it could have some limitation of some kind. Maybe the normal versions don't hit on the ground, just like Alex's knee, and so they have problems like that. Another possibility is that at first when I heard the quotes, especially the lifts them with the knee and brings them down. At first, I thought lifting them meant hitting someone who's crouching, bringing them to stand, and it made me think of Another old game, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. In that game, King from Tekken had a crouch throw. And by crouch throw, I don't mean a throw that has a different effect if you're crouching. I mean, he has a command throw that only works on crouchers. And I wonder if this is what that is. It'd be interesting to bring it back because I've not seen it in any other game, I don't think.
That would be interesting. And that'd be a way to kind of balance maybe a command grab for being too strong. It has to be specifically when they're crouching, maybe.
And we're going to see later that there seems to be some, mix up with lows and overheads. So this could fill in the gaps and still be a strong command throw in the Marisa space, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about that right now, actually, Amir. These two moves we're about to talk about, they seem to be Marisa's core two moves from what we're seeing in the commentary tracks. So let's talk about the first one. We hear the commentary track, going for the legs with a Procella.
Going for the legs with a Procella.
And Procella in Latin Mir means what?
It means storm or tempest, hurricane, like a devastating storm.
Okay. And the other quotes are, goes low with Procella and sweeps them, and Procella catches them sleeping.
Goes low with Procella and sweeps them. Procella catches them sleeping.
So this implies two things. One, that it can hit low, and two, there's more than one option. So what do you think about this?
Right. It could be a move out of a stance because, going specifically low tends to imply that there might be the option to go high as well, or as in overhead. It could be a little bit like Abel's change of direction where it goes low or overhead, although that'd be more something for Manon. But even that, it could be like a run sort of stance. Maybe not necessarily with a lot of forward movement, but if we look at something like Kimberly, right? Kimberly has an overhead and a low from a run. Obviously, that's a different archetype. So I don't expect Marisa to be running at the same speed across the screen.
No,
that'd be extremely scary.
No.
But she could have a little bit of a stance like that, and in the sense that Luke, for example, also has a stance with the shoulder tackle and the overhead. So it wouldn't be the first time to see something like that.
In my head, I can't help but think about Abigail run. I'm like, that's what's really in my head is Abigail run, just because I can't get the armor out of my head. Like she's gonna have armor and to help her get away with his moves because maybe it is really slow. Like you're saying, she moves slowly towards the opponent, and then you get the mix up with it, right?
Right. The thing is that if they have a 50-50 like this, I think they would have to make at least one of the two options reactable, because usually characters like Abigail or even Ken in this game, right?
Yeah.
They don't have multiple like high-low options from their run. They usually tend to have a mid and an overhead, and basically you're reacting to the run itself to start blocking high. And then in some cases, like Ken, they can cancel and try to go low, but one option is considerably slower than the rest. So that's the way they balance it usually. So it'd be really weird for Marisa to have something that moves forward a lot and go both overhead and low, which made me think more of, Marduk from Tekken, who is the Valetudo fighter, the one that like tackles you and sits on top of you and like hits you.
Sorry,
like maybe this is more like... This is more of a tackle stance, where she does not really moving, but it opens up her mix-up.
Okay, I will look up some clips after. Their idea. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, let's talk about the second move now, Amir. This is the move that ties in with the Procella. So let me know if I'm pronouncing this right. So the commentary track is goes for the Tonitrus to mix them with the overhead, and starting trouble with the Tonitrus overhead.
Goes for the Tonitrus to mix them with the overhead. Starting trouble with the Tonitrus overhead. Opts for the Tonitrus.
First off, did I pronounce this right? And two, what does Tonitrus mean?
Okay, yeah, Tonitrus is correct, and it means thunder in Latin, right? Which goes in hand with Procella, meaning storm, right?
Yeah, storm, thunder. Yeah, so it's very obvious these two moves are tied together. That's why we're saying this is like probably Marisa's core move here. So the big red flag mirror is that we know the Procella has a possibility of hitting low, and there's a mix-up to it, right? But this one specifically says overhead. So now what?
Right. So again, if it is a 50-50, I hope one of the two options is reactable, because otherwise it'd be pretty oppressive. I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Especially if it ties with the super armor, right? Like, that sounds scary.
Right, exactly. But I can imagine that one of the two options could lead to a combo, right? Maybe the one that is the most punishable, possibly the overhead, right? Usually overheads a little bit are slower than lows. So maybe this one is something that could lead to maybe a cancel into a super, for example, or just linking out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be particularly useful if someone is checking maybe with a delayed jab or something like that. It is not ready. And with the super arm, we just blow through that and whack them on the head.
I was also thinking too, like kind of like a Rekka style move, but after talking about Manon, like it just seems like that's her kind of style, you know, now that we already did a theory on it. So now talking about Marisa, it's got to be something different, you know?
Yeah, for
it
sure.
Just has to
and I
be.
guess another thought that just jumped in my head that I guess we should mention about the super armor. Since the way armor works is that you go through an attack and hit an opponent during their recovery, right? Because they're attacking you. Then she's going to score a lot of punish counters, which means it's going to drain a lot of your gauge and possibly get extra effects on special moves and such.
I'm going to main this
So
character.
that's another reason why the super armor could be very, very useful in a game like Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, Mir. So more moves to talk about. This one just straight up says, boots them.
Boots them! Those boots are made in Italy!
Like, that's it. Just boots them.
Does boot.
But boots them, I mean, obviously she's strong. She can boot you. Obviously, it might have armor and it would be long range. Like, when you say boots them, I just immediately think of Alex standing heavy kick, you know? So
Yeah. I was thinking of Birdie standing head kick, but I mean, they're basically the same thing anyway.
Okay, but it's not just, like, her legs, right? There's another quote here. Flies in with the fist to keep the pressure on.
Flies in with the fist to keep the pressure on!
So now, flies in with the fist. So there's a boot and there's a fist. I mean, I can't help but think, like, charge character stuff at this point. You know, I'm thinking something with a kick, something with a punch. What do you think?
Kind of reminds me of Terry's move from KOF. What's it called? Power dunk?
Oh, yeah, power dunk! It could be
I
anything.
mean, the interesting part here is that when they said fly in with the fist,
Yeah.
at first I thought Alex's weird, like cross chop dive punch thing.
Oh, the down heavy
But then-
punch in the air?
Right, yeah. But then it says to keep the pressure on. Now, if Alex does it, he just dies.
Yes.
It's like minus a million on block. So
Right.
it's probably not that. So it made me think of something else. It made me think of Air Stampede. Right? I mean, it's just her own version.
Oh,
with,
the Alex stomp. The stomp.
Right, exactly. It might be her own version except with a fist. Right? Maybe it is animated like the power dunk. Or maybe she does like capital punishment where she goes, bonk, and bonks you over the head. So it's something that definitely comes from the sky, though, in some way.
Air
like a jump.
Stampede's also a charge move, by the way. So we're back to the charge. I would not be surprised if Marisa has at least some charge moves. I'm guessing that. I think it's just the way these sound. But I mean, obviously, Mir, there's not much we can talk about here. You know, boots them, flies in them with a fist to keep the pressure on. Like, we don't know if these are moves or command normals, right? Okay, moving on. Goes in for the ground and pound.
Goes for the ground and pound!
What is this move? And that's gonna leave a crater.
Oh, that's gonna leave a crater!
That happens right after the ground and pound. So are they talking, like, the way I think with this is that Potemkin's slam move. You know when Potemkin, like, he falls forward and he just slams against the floor and it knocks your butt down?
Slide head.
Is it called
slide
slide
head
head?
to bonk and then just falls on the ground.
Or like Gutsman from Mega Man. You know, Gutsman, he like slams the ground. If you don't jump with Mega Man, you get stunned. I don't know what I'm talking about, Mir. Like, what is this move?
Yeah, I mean, ground and pound made me think more of again, like a tackle of some kind.
Okay.
Just vaults over you and then smashes you a bunch. Again, like Marduk from Tekken.
Oh, there's Marduk again.
Which he was in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, by the way, with comically short legs, and and he could do that, right? Like, 'cause that's his main move. So maybe this is a tackle of some kind that has like a hit throw, part of it. She can use just maul
Right.
you. And since she's so big, I mean, I can see that totally being the case. MMA as well.
So far, with all these moves we just talked about, we haven't heard anything that sounds like, fireballs, for example.
Yeah.
No zoning moves
So
at all.
far.
So far. Next move, pushing through with the Gladius. And the Gladius blows them away, rails them with the Gladius.
Pushing through with the Gladius! The Gladius blows them away! Oh, rails them with the Gladius!
So, Gladius, once again, Mir, as you taught me, it just literally means sword. It's a Roman sword. And to me, I mean, sword, something that would pierce. It's something that's forward advancing, What do you think?
Yeah, it did remind me of something like Alex's elbow, or like a Borog Rush Punch, that kind of move, moving forward with an attack and
Yeah,
then
Balrog. That's a
knocks
charge
down.
character move. Yeah.
The pushing through kind of implies that maybe with the armor you can go through an attack and score a knockdown, right?
If there's
Something
any
like that.
attack that has armor, this has got to be one of them. It just has to, just the way it sounds, right?
Yeah, I hope it's unsafe.
We'll see. I mean, that's the thing. That's the way to balance the armor, right? Like you said, if you're getting punished counters and it's that powerful, it has to be something that's super punishable if the armor doesn't succeed, right?
Yeah,
They would have
I
to.
would assume that even looking at the quotes that we read before, a lot of these moves are meant to be done on reaction, which makes sense, especially against slower moves that might be very active and difficult to whip punish. Otherwise, you can use the super armor to your advantage to just go through them and hit them, right?
Mm-hmm. Gladius is such a cool word. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's the best word for like you telling me it just means sword. It just doesn't give it justice. It sounds too boring when you say, "Oh, it means sword." Like Gladius is awesome. Even JRPGs you play, a lot of the good swords are named Gladius. I don't know, so I hope this move is amazing. Okay, next move. Phalanx from above.
Phalanx from above!
So phalanx, that's another very common word you hear a lot. So what does this mean?
But interestingly, this is not Latin. This is Greek. Oh, okay. So
Oh my god, Mir.
this is a famous Greek infantry formation based around like a square of men with shields and like pole weapons like pikes, spears, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a battlefield formation, which usually doesn't have to deal with air at all. So I don't know what the phalanx from above means.
Yeah, and then the other quote, Mir, is comes for them with the phalanx.
Comes for them with the phalanx! In with the phalanx!
So I don't know. It's definitely something that's approaching. It doesn't sound like a defensive position, right?
Right. I could see the approaching part because being an infantry formation is something that could have been used on the battlefield to keep the soldiers protected while advancing, with this wall of spears.
Yeah.
So the forward advancing part, absolutely, I believe. I'm still, again, confused about the the air part. I'm not sure what it could be. I guess it could be another advancing move, but with like a hop to it. Maybe that's the fist we were hearing before the power dunk that I was talking about. Maybe this is what it is.
Maybe. Oh, that's actually a good point. They might be right about that. Once again, we have to remind ourselves, guys, that the move names don't necessarily describe the move itself. It's just Capcom trying to be cool and use cool Roman or Greek words, and tying them in, right? Because when I hear phalanx from above, I immediately think of Pantheon's ulti from League of Legends crashing down on you. That's like the first thing that pops in my head.
Just plummeting from the sky in your opponent.
From the air, if you watch like the movie 300.
He was stunned from Mortal Kombat. Maybe it's unblocked.
You think she's gonna jump? Like, you think it's gonna be like another overhead attack, or is this something to help her get in?
At this point, I have to wonder if it is, right? Because from above, what does that mean? Above implies, like either the air or an overhead.
This might be her move to deal with projectiles, like to go over them and get in, possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless this is, like the head crush equivalent, because we have the air stampede already, and then there's Alex's wonky jump command throw. So maybe that's what this is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Another cool word, by the way. Very cool word.
Oh, yeah?
It's another cool word, yes. Moving on. Here's this commentary line. Quadriga.
Quadriga!
Mir, history lesson on Quadriga. What does that mean?
All right, so Quadriga is a chariot led by 4 horses.
You sure?
Interesting because this is as opposed to the auriga, but the quadriga is the quadra means 4 in Latin, right?
Right.
I think in Greek is tetripos, which means 4 horses. So like we're there. Again, it's a chariot. So is this another forward advancing move? Maybe it's fast. Maybe she turns into a horse and she stampedes you.
Yeah, what is up with this? She has so many forward advancing moves,
Better be unsafe. That's my catchphrase for this video.
Yeah, that is your catchphrase for this video. If she has a forward moving move, this would have to be the fastest. This is running on horsepower, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing much to talk about the Quadriga, but thanks for the history lesson again.
Not really tell much from just the name.
Okay, this one's interesting. Enfold for the throw. Enfold.
Enfold for the throw! Enfold!
So I'm thinking enfold as in ENFOLD, Mir, because I'm hearing people maybe interpret it as infold, 2 separate words, but that doesn't really make sense because we think this is Marisa's command grab. because
Right.
like we mentioned before, brawler type characters usually have a command grab to help open you up. There's one more quote, Mir. Folded up like a cheap suit.
Folded up like a cheap suit, flipping them inside and out.
Yeah, and fold in this sense meaning, like to surround, to envelop, to clinch on something. So like it makes sense that it would be the name for a throw. Yeah, folded up like a cheap suit. It makes me think that kind of like she grabs you and just crumples you up like a piece of paper.
Oh, easily, yeah. It just tosses you into the trash can. So once again, brawler type characters, Abigail's got a command grab, Birdie's got a command grab, Honda's got a command grab. They're gonna, and she has all these moves that help get her in. She has armor, so having a forward moving, maybe a fast forward moving character that might be a charge with a command grab sounds scary. Balrog V trigger too.
Yeah.
We don't know like what kind of the range would it have, how close does she have to be, if she throws you on the other side of the screen. But I'm not surprised at all that she will possibly have a command grab, because look at the character, she can definitely grab you and just destroy you.
Yeah, those arms are like twice as big as Giles.
Okay, so that's all the moves that we think so far, Amir. The rest of the moves now we think are supers. So
Okay.
There's a lot of lines for this one. I think this is the level 1. So we hear, loads up the javelin and blast them with the good stuff.
Loads up the javelin and blasts them with the good stuff.
And Javelin of Marisa digs in it. Javelin of Marisa applies the super armor and pries them open.
Javelin of Marisa digs in it. Javelin of Marisa applies the super armor and pries them open. Marisa gonna give you the jav.
So a lot to talk about this level 1.
Okay, I guess the first thing to mention is that the mention of the javelin, and the javelin being a thrown weapon, right? Like basically a thrown spear.
Yeah.
So it implies that it's ranged, right? Like, is this a fireball? Is this like a bolt of lightning, like Zeus, or I guess Jupiter, since we're talking about Romans, that
Yeah,
just throws
it
he
literally
throws
says
on the side of the screen.
she blasts them, right? That sounds like a projectile to me. I think it would be cool if she had one ranged attack and it was her level 1.
Yeah, especially because she could use it for dealing with stuff like fireballs, right?
Yeah.
From full screen.
Mhm.
It could be her threat by having super meter,
Now
especially
think of
when
Shao Kahn.
against certain fireballs that have a lot of hits or zoners. It might be difficult to use the armor to go through, especially if then you get punished on the recovery, right?
And once again with this quote, Mir, Javelin Marisa applies the super armor and pries them open. So it outright says uses the super armor. So that might give us an extra hint that this super armor could be a stock system. A lot of level 1 supers in Street Fighter 6 can be buffed in some ways. Like Ryu, when he does his Denjin stock, his level 1 is buffed.
Yeah.
Kimberly, when she has a spray paint can, her level 1 is buffed. And even Jury can use a stock to buff the damage of her level 1. So Marisa would be no different given her super armor with her level 1. It'd be really cool, like you said, if it's a projectile attack. That's what I think it is, and level 1 supers are usually really versatile. So
Right, and it makes me think like that other move where it says the exact same thing about prying them open, is that where you could consume the super armor to have a special effect on block, like becoming a guard crush. Maybe you could use it to make it safe in case you screw up, that sort of thing.
We also mentioned before, Mia, that she makes her own accessories, right? And the quote literally says, Javelin of Marisa. So maybe she made the javelin, some of the weapons that she uses. Maybe she made
I don't
them
know.
herself.
Maybe she pulls out a little like wooden sculpture and then it becomes a bolt of lightning in her hands. Oh,
Man, you're really going out there with this. Holy moly.
I really like the idea of the bolt of lightning somehow.
Even before you're right.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. Okay, the next super, we pretty much have nothing to talk about. Her level 2. We know it's her level 2 because the quote literally says, spends 2 for the meteorite and absolutely destroys them.
Spends 2 for the meteorite and absolutely destroys them.
Meteorite, Mir.
Right, so like
comets.
the meteorite is a rock falling to Earth pretty much from space.
Thanks,
So
Mir.
again, it implies something that you use in the air, or maybe something that travels through the air,
I
like
think-
like a big dive kick of some kind. It kind of reminds me of Hulk's super in Marvel, where she just falls from the sky on you. What is it, Gamma Crush?
Yeah,
Don't
Gamma
remember.
Crush, dude. Yeah, I don't know. Like this time, I'm thinking like how we talked about before, how she might have a knee smash move, and even the phalanx. Like she's also approaching from above. So maybe she has something where she hits the opponent in the air and she can convert with an air version of a super. Because like Kimberly, you know, because
Yeah.
level 2 supers, like, this does not sound like a buff super or an install, right? This sounds like a straight up damage. So usually level 2s have to have some kind of utility to them. So maybe that's what the meteorite, like, it's just something you can use like specifically for projectiles again, or something where she can combo from the air like Kimberly. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it seems quite strong on a character that is already, you know, full of forward advancing moves and such, having something that can approach from the air, especially if, like, Kimberly's can go over projectiles. Be quite powerful.
Okay, moving on to the level 3 now. So we think this is her level 3, and it's called Goddess of the Hunt.
Devotes all that meter to the goddess of the hunt. They're about to get a big knockout kiss. Marisa delivering the goddess of the hunt. Heavy damage incoming. It's the goddess of the hunt. I've heard of tough love, but not like this. Not like this. The goddess of the hunt has arrived. Say goodbye to that life gauge.
Goddess of the Hunt, that's another reference, right?
Right. In Roman mythology, that'd be the goddess Diana, which is Artemis in Greek mythology. And I mean, it could just be, you know, a reference to the goddess of the hunt. And again, it might be because she worships the Roman pantheon, maybe, or just inspired by the ancient Romans again, right? So
Another
it could
cool
just be a
sounding
name, because it's cool.
It's cool. Very cool, yeah.
Or maybe she pulls out a bow and skewers you. Who knows?
That'd be crazy if, like, all 3 of her supers are ranged. That would be mind-blowing.
Yeah, that'd be pretty nuts.
Well, one thing we can say is the information we don't get, right? With Manon, we had, like, some theories that maybe she had a grab super, but this time around with Marisa, it doesn't sound like she has any grab supers. Like, none of these sound like grabs, you know?
No, I don't think so. Especially if she is a brawler, I feel like it wouldn't make as much sense as giving it to a grappler instead.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think that's that, but that's pretty much all the information we can get. But it's once again, it's a cool name, Goddess of the Hunt. Very cool name for a super. So that's pretty much it, Mir. That's all of her moves that we can make out from all the commentary tracks. But I guess to summarize, you know, she seems like a very powerful brawler character that overpowers her, you know, opponents with super armor. And it sounds like she has a lot of forward moving physical attacks that approach from the ground and from the air. I would, you know, envision her as this short combos, you know, high damage. She's got long range, but she moves really slow. And she's got a command grab, you know, like Birdie, and she's going to open you up that way. And she seems to have a lot of good anti-projectile moves, and hopefully these super armor moves are very unsafe. And she just seems like the character that people are going to complain about. You know, like if
for sure.
You know, every Street Fighter has like that character that's just like, oh, this character's so easy to play, it's mindless, you know. I think Marisa is definitely up there to rank up with, just abusing the super armor.
There's a high chance that a lot of the moves that she has are, you know, just big knowledge checks. You need to know how unsafe they are and how you need to punish them. Otherwise, you're just going to get mauled, especially early on when people are not going to know all the optimized punishes, you know, with punish counter and whatnot.
Yeah.
She's going to do this high reward move and you're going to just punish for,
exactly,
you know, like a jab's worth of damage.
But guys, let us know in the comments below. What do you guys think of Marisa so far? What kind of moves she has? The super armor mechanic in Street Fighter 6 and playing a brawler character. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. Let us know if you have anything to add listening to the tracks yourselves. And me and Mir will be back to cover the next character. So thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And until next time.
Bye-bye.